The basement wasn't empty. When I bought my first house, I wasn't expecting perfection. It was an old colonial-style home just outside of town. Cheap, quiet, and with character, the realtor said. She failed to mention the basement. There were no lights installed, just a single outlet and a pull chain that didn't work. She told me the previous owners used it as storage, but when I moved in, it was empty. Dusty, but empty. Or so I thought. The first few nights were peaceful. I was busy unpacking, setting up my office, decorating. But on the fifth night, I started hearing noises. Nothing too crazy, just soft knocks and the occasional creak. Old house stuff, I figured, but it became regular. Every night around 1:30 a.m., I'd hear movement from beneath me. Shuffling. Footsteps. Once, a low thud. My cat would sit at the top of the basement stairs and growl. He never did that before. Curiosity got the better of me, and I went down with a flashlight. The air was heavy, musty. The beam cut through layers of dust and cobwebs. I saw old shelves, empty boxes, and a disused workbench in the corner. But then I heard it. Breathing. It was faint, but unmistakable. Wheezing. Labored, coming from behind the furnace. I called out, thinking maybe someone had broken in. No answer. I edged toward the sound, heart hammering in my chest. The light flickered. When I rounded the corner, nothing. Just shadow and silence. I went back upstairs, bolted the basement door, and tried to forget it. But the next morning, there were muddy footprints leading from the basement up into the kitchen, bare, human footprints. That night, I set up my phone to record. I placed it at the bottom of the stairs, filming into the darkness. I watched the footage the next morning. At 1:31 a.m., something emerged from the shadows. It looked like a person, but not quite. Too thin, too tall, and its movements were jerky, unnatural. It stood at the bottom of the stairs, staring up. Then it slowly turned, walked back into the dark, and disappeared. I moved out that same day. Paid movers to pack what they could while I stayed outside with the cat. I left the keys in the mailbox and never looked back. The house is still listed. Basement. Recently renovated. The mirror in the master bedroom. I moved into a charming Victorian fixer-upper, complete with creaky floors and dusty chandeliers. The master bedroom had a massive antique mirror bolted to the wall, so large that removing it would have required tearing out part of the plaster. I didn't love it, but it added to the aesthetic. The first week was uneventful. I was too busy painting and adjusting to my new space to care. But on the 8th night, I noticed something strange. I got up for a glass of water and caught a glimpse of the mirror in the dark. The reflection wasn't quite right. My bed was visible, the shadows were all correct, but there was something standing beside my nightstand. A tall shape, human-shaped. I turned quickly. Nothing there. I chalked it up to exhaustion until it kept happening. The figure appeared in the mirror, but never in the room. Always standing closer. Sometimes at the foot of the bed. Once, directly behind my shoulder. I tried ignoring it, but it started seeping into my dreams. I'd dream of waking up, walking to the mirror, and being pulled inside by a pair of gray, lifeless hands. I always woke up in a cold sweat, heart pounding. One morning I found the mirror cracked. 3 fractures branching out from the center like a spider web. I hadn't touched it. That day, I called a contractor to take it down. He hesitated but agreed. When he removed it, behind the mirror was a hollow cavity in the wall. Inside was a dusty photo album and something wrapped in old linen. A child's shoe. Just one. That night I slept in the guest room. And I still woke up at 1:11 a.m. The same time I always saw the figure. This time I heard it whispering my name. I moved out shortly after. The previous owner never left. The real estate agent said the old woman who lived here had passed away peacefully in her sleep. She loved this place, he added. It was a charming little cottage on the edge of a quiet forest. Affordable, cozy, with a beautiful garden that always seemed a little too well maintained for an abandoned home. The first week I kept finding odd things. Her toothbrush was still in the bathroom, a faded nightgown folded on the bed. I assumed it was just stuff the family hadn't taken yet, but things kept happening. The bedroom window would open by itself at night. My shoes moved around the house. Once I found the kettle on and boiling when I hadn't touched it. Then there was the smell. Not rot exactly, but something stale, like an old attic after years of being shut. It always came from the spare room. One night I woke up and saw someone sitting at the foot of my bed. An old woman in a pale nightgown. Her back was to me, hair long and gray, head slightly tilted. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. She turned slowly. Her eyes were wide, mouth slightly open like she was mid-sentence. Then she was gone. The next morning I opened the closet in the spare room. Behind a pile of boxes was a diary. It belonged to her. The last page read, "I can't leave. He won't let me." Who was he? I don't know. But that night, I heard two voices whispering in the dark. I stayed with a friend the next day. I sold the house at a loss and never went back. Sometimes, though, I dream I'm still there, watching someone else move in, knowing they won't be alone.